Okay, so good evening. I'm going to start today's class. We have to start the new course, right? This is the first class for A9, so we will begin. Please, I'm going to show now the ID. Remember that to join the new class, again, I usually share the link. You're not here with me. So there's another method, right? You go to Google, you type Google Classroom, right? And you join a new course. You can write, be part of a new class, and they are going to ask you for the ID or the code. And this is the class code. All right, 746FRUU. Okay, if you type it as part of the code they are asking you for, you'll join the course. All right, and remember that here you have all the contents, all the presentations, and so on. But that's the first part. Okay, let's do that first. Then what I'm going to do now, and I have to do it right in front of the camera and here live, I'm assigning the concepts, the new concepts. This is going to be the guide for, again, the following next or the following 8 classes, sorry. And in these 8 next classes, we are going to work on this, all right, A9. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to assign everything. And as I'm doing it, well, actually first I'm going to do, all right? When I finish, I'll be back with you. All right, you'll see me. I'm going. Okay, so I finished with that. As you were able to see, you'll have the 8 dates or the 8 classes, and the due date, right, for everything is Monday the 28th, right? Monday, August the 28th. That will be, right, the day, and these are the weeks that you got to finish, to complete, right, the assignment, to take the quizzes and the final test. All right, that's for A9, and with this, we're finishing this product, and we have one more product with A10, A11, and A12, all right, to go. But that's it. Now everything is ready on Google Classroom. Everything is ready on Pearson. We can begin with today's, all right, lessons or lesson. Oh, it's going to be lessons. And well, let's go to it. All right. let's begin with the review that we have for today. That is, again, the past continuous. Okay, with when. This is something we covered before. This was part of A8. And again, some of the contents are going to be repeated because it's the way it's structured on Pearson, sorry. But again, I'm just trying to clean something on my screen. Again, we have to take into account that the idea of repeating and covering the same contents is that we have to reinforce that knowledge. We have to be sure that this is clear and you can remember, all right, and you are able to use it properly. Okay, so we will begin. Give me a second, I'm going to drink some water. Okay, so let's begin. Let's begin with this. The past continuous, all right, is used for a very specific situation. I was running last night at 8 p.m. I ran last night at 8 p.m. Both are past ideas. The first one is past continuous, the second one is simple past. But we need a good reason actually to use the past continuous. Because if not, we can simply say I ran last night at 8 p.m. Because that's definite. We go straight to the point and we mention what happened, and that's it. The idea of mentioning I was running last night at 8 p.m., all right, it can be justified by some, all right, good reasons. For example, if I called you at 8 p.m. and you didn't reply, you didn't, all right, answer my call, you can say that you were running last night at 8 p.m., that you were doing that activity, and because you were in progress, right, of doing that activity, then that's a good reason to use the past continuous, all right, to say what you were doing at that time, and that's why you were not able to do, all right, anything else. That's one reason. We have more. Remember, here we're not going to mention that because we're just going to pay attention to this idea of using past continuous with when. But remember that you can use it at the beginning of your story, right? So you're not going to say simply, I was walking on the street, period. Okay, why? Why are you going to say that? I mean, what's the purpose of showing that progress over there? It is mainly because something else happened afterwards. It is mainly because it's the beginning of your story and it serves as context or introduction to your story, right? So I was walking on the street when this happened and when this other thing happened as well. And again, that idea just goes around the logic of using the past continuous as a context of a past story or the beginning of, again, a story that you want to tell. So once again, you really need to use, or you really need to have good justification for using the past continuous because it's not common to use it every time. You can simply use the simple past in most of the cases, and that's going to be good. But in stories and in general, right, when we use or when we want to talk about past, we use a combination of simple past and past continuous. Okay, why? Because they integrate the two ideas, something that was in progress and something that happened very specifically at a punctual time in the past. All right, so that's why we have simple past, that is the definite past, and the past continuous, that is just an ongoing past action. All right, so use the past continuous to describe an ongoing action that was happening during a specific time in the past. The action started before the time that was mentioned and will be finished after some time. That's it, yeah. All right, then you have I, he, she, it with was, of course, and the verb plus ing. That's the formula that you got for past continuous. I was doing this, she was doing that, it was doing this and that. We, you, they, plus were, right? All plural subjects, pronouns, and you get also the second person, that is you. All right. Now, this is the main idea. We understand this because we cover this again in a certain way. Make sure that this interrupted that action, or simply it happened that you called me, I didn't reply, all right, I didn't answer, but you called me at that specific moment. Okay, so that's the context. That's what was happening, and called me is that action, that specific action that happened when you were doing it, as you were doing that, while you were doing that. All right, as, when, while. So what's the ongoing action? Of course, the past continuous, right? I was studying for my exam. And what's the punctual specific action, right, that interrupted or happened afterwards? Of course, we also know the simple past. All right. Now we know the formulas. Even we took a look at more complex formulas. This is just to reinforce. We know that this past continuous when simple past, right? I was doing this when this happened. She was doing that when that happened, and so on and so forth. Or when I was doing, or sorry, when this happened, comma, I was doing this. When that happened, comma, she was doing that. All right, this inversion, right? You know that it's possible when we talk about these clauses. When it's in the middle, right, the when clause, this time clause, it is going to be without any commas, just that word. But if it's at the beginning, we know that we have to use this comma. All right. So the past continuous is the first ongoing action, right? It's always first because it started before as part of that logic. And the simple past is the second interrupting action in this case. Okay, this was a practice that we got. Again, we need to be here to practice this together. We need to practice by writing stories, writing paragraphs, telling the story in class to receive corrections, right? Again, that's something I cannot do now, all right, because we only have this time to practice. I only have this time to work on your elements. And but well, again, try to work on Pearson, try to be sure that everything is clear, and that's the lesson. Okay, very short. We're going to go to the next one now. That was again a review, a short review. Okay, I'll open the next now and we'll continue working. Okay, so this is also a very simple lesson, a short one, but I finished today with this one and I finished the class as well. Okay, now, models of permission. We know that some of these models that we use for permission can be used for many different purposes as well. Some of them for possibility, or actually the three of them. Sorry, not the three of them, sorry, some of them. some of them for possibility, and some of them, if they are structured in a different way, for different purposes. But let's take a look at them, and we're going to analyze the usage that they can have. Now, this is something that we can do to start with the lesson. It says, what do you ask in these situations? You want to go to the bathroom when you're in class, right? How do you ask the question? How do you ask the permission to go? You need to use a pencil and you don't have one, but there's a person who has it. Okay, then again, what do? How do you ask that person for that pencil that you need? You are very tired and you want to sit down for a while, but the only place to sit down is part of one group stay, right? So what do, right? How do you interact with that group? And how do you ask, right, for that chair in this case, or that seat? Okay, so can, could, may. Here, we're going to use them as permission, but we know that can be ability, could can be possibility, may can be possibility. All right, so again, that's why I was saying they can be used with different purposes, but here they will be used as permission. All right, as permission. The level, the level of formality in this specific case will be related to what? Can is not exactly, and it's not specific for permission. It is mainly used for ability. It's understandable and it's valid to use it in permission, but again, that's why this is less formal. Could is an interesting way. Could is always formal, all right? But again, it's going to be just formal. May is the one that we use for permission in questions, and it's only used as permission in questions. In affirmative and negative, right, statements, we use may as possibility. But again, may in questions, it is always permission, and this is very formal in terms of asking, all right, for any type of permission. Can I go to the bathroom? Could I go to the bathroom? May I go to the bathroom? That's the idea and the way in which we can think of that. Okay, so usage, the same as we're saying this, all right? We use models of permission to ask someone if we can, could, or may perform an action. For example, if you want to go to the bathroom in a class, if you want to borrow, right, something from a person, or if you want to do something that affects one person, and so on and so forth. All right, so what happens here is that you have those alternatives and you can use these questions. May I go to the bathroom? Could I borrow your pencil? Can I sit down for a moment? All right, may I park here for 5 minutes? These, all of them are permission, all right, questions for permission. You know which one is more formal than the other one. But again, you know that may is the one that is very formal, and it's the one that works perfectly for permission. All right, may I go to the bathroom? May I borrow your pencil? May I sit down for a moment? May I park here for 5 minutes? That's always going to be the best option. But using can and could is not incorrect, and that's an alternative when, again, all right, when wanting to do this. Then ask something politely. Of course, using please is always going to be the best option, right? So to ask something in a polite way, add please between the subject and the verb, or at the end of the question. So you have two possible, right, places in which you can place your word, please. So may I please go to the bathroom? This is placed in between the subject and the verb. Could I borrow your pencil, please? This is placed at the end of the question. Can I please sit down for a moment? In between the subject and the verb. Can I park here for 5 minutes, please? At the end of your question. All right, so let's now do the following. If you want to answer back, if you want to reply to a question related to permission, of course, if you want to answer affirmatively, you say, of course. sure, go ahead, yes, you can, yes, you may. All right, no could, because could is only like possibility. If you say yes, you could, it's okay, but I mean, it's not going to have the effect that it has when it's can or may, right? Then negative, sorry, right? It's always good to explain why, but it's always good to be polite as well. Sorry, I can't. I'm sorry, it's not possible to do that, right? Why? Because of this and that, or this is the reason why you cannot do that, right? Why I cannot give you permission to do it. Now, do you mind if it's an extra, yes, actually extra expression, let's call it here, to ask for permission, right? Use the expression, do you mind if, to ask for permission. Do you mind if I sit down next to you? All right, I want to know if it's okay for you. I'm asking for permission in a certain way because I don't want to bother you. Do you mind if I use your eraser for a minute, please? So to use something, all right, that is someone else's property, it needs permission, right? So do you mind if, again, it's a good way, it's an interesting way to ask for permission as well. Now, if you want to be more formal, instead of do you mind, you will ask would you mind. That it's the same, but it's a more complex structure and more advanced and interesting one. But it relates to the same. The question is understood as the same. Do you mind if I sit down next to you? And would you mind if I sat down next to you? Is the same. But here, because of the structure that it has, that is kind of conditional, for this type of conditional that is close to the present and real conditional, we use the simple past in the right, the clause that is related to the condition. All right, and it's simple past, that's the name of the structure we use, but it is not past, it is present. Okay, so would you mind if I sat down next to you now? This is a question for the present. Okay, for now, for right now perhaps. Would you mind if I used your eraser for a minute? Same idea. We are using would and we're using used because of the conjugation and the structure related to what? Related to a conditional, the present and real conditional. But as in the present and real conditional and in this structure related to permission, we use this for present situations, not for past situations, of course, because this is a permission that we're asking for. And that's, of course, present or future. Okay, so this is not related to the past, but that's the way we structure that. And for these questions, right, we ask negatively, because do you mind is like, is this going to be annoying for you? Is this going to be negative for you? So if you ask negatively, it's an affirmative response, right? Not at all, right? Do you mind if I sit down next to you? Not at all. No, I don't mind. Go ahead, right? That's positive. You're giving him or her permission. But negative, you say, I'm sorry, right? I do mind, right? I mind because of this or that, right? Of course. So once again, if you answer negatively, that's going to be an affirmative response. If you answer affirmatively, that's going to be a negative response. Or simply you say, I'm sorry, right? I can't, it's not possible because of this, or this seat is taken, as in this example, right? You explain why it is not possible, and that's it. Okay, so those were models for permission. And that's it for today. Today we review just very basically and very shortly the past continuous with when. And we took a look at these very right common models for permission. Okay, with that, please, we're finishing again today. I hope that was clear. Please remember, you have to keep working on Pearson. You have now the new model, right? This is model C. This is the course A9 now, and this is the first class. Please work on that. Remember, try to work on your own. You're not working here with me. I don't know how you're doing, but you have to continue working, and you have to always try to practice by writing and well, recording yourself to listen right to your own responses, to your own speech, to give yourself some feedback. Okay, that's it again. I'll see you next week.